Is my audio okay? You can't do a video session, have the audio be bad.
It's fine.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
sound fine.
I think it's fine, Ken.
Okay, good.
And that's all that matters, what I think.
Can you hear it better now?
Oh,
Oh.
nice. I like that.
It's a
He's a
little
man on a
Halloween
mission.
creepiness going on there.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mortgage Influencers, where we bring you professionals who share insight into the latest trends, tips, industry technology, and services to help you be a mortgage influencer in your mortgage business.
Oh boy.
And we are off. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to another episode of Mortgage Influencers. It's Ginger Bell. I've got our usual guests here, our co-presenter, Scott Schang, with his warm weather gear on this morning.
Getting a little chilly. Yeah.
It's chilly in Austin. And Frank and Carl may hop on. We never know when they're going to hop on. I know they're kind of traveling around, but we have some special guests today. And so I am going to introduce, I'll start off. So Bobby, you're on as a special guest just to talk about, not just, but to share a special podcast that's coming up called Potapalooza.
Yes.
And so Bobby, you have your own podcast, which is Laugh, Lend, and Eat, which I absolutely love. And I know when I was on your podcast, you made me so hungry for pizza. I had to go out and get pizza. So I love the combination of that. So we're going to get into that. But our guest today is a dear friend of mine who I have known really since I got started in the industry. And he's just across the river from me in Vancouver, Washington. And that is the one and only. So I need to have a drum roll on my stream deck. Ken Perry, who's the founder and CEO and CE, absolutely mastermind with so much that you do. And so we are so excited to have you here with the Knowledge Coop. And so we're going to get into introductions, but I'm going to actually start off because when we were starting and warming up for this getting everybody live, these guys don't know each other, and so I get to be Kevin Bacon here.
Nice.
Nice.
You're the home.
I am that. So Scott, I'm going to let you kind of give a little precursor that we were having a conversation about not being able to attend Ken's class that was coming up, because Ken's class, the live classes, I can tell you, are phenomenal. And so Scott was sharing with me, you had a class in Austin. For some reason, it got rescheduled, moved to Houston, that got rescheduled. And he couldn't make it because of AM Fuse. And he was so bummed. And this is what he told me, he likes to sit in live classes because his ADD kicks in and he can't do the online. And I'm like, you have got to go to a Ken class, because in a Ken class, Ken's ADD kicks in.
Yeah.
It keeps you entertained for 8 hours.
And it's like entertainment for so many hours. And so I'm excited to really start unpacking, Ken, some of the things that we're going to talk about. And we're free for all. So whatever. You guys have questions, type them, let us know what they are. But before we do that, Bobby, I'm going to have you share a little bit about what we're doing in November, because I think it's an important cause. And I think it's something that we don't use our voice a lot in the mortgage industry for causes. So I'm so excited to be a part of this. I know this is the second year you've done it. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about it.
So Potapalooza is basically it's a gathering of podcasts from the mortgage industry. You know what I mean? And I think we're gonna have one that's not in the mortgage industry this year. And we started doing it. We'll start at 10 a.m. in the morning, and it goes on till the last podcast is finished. And so there's no time limit. There's no we don't know when it'll actually end. Last year, I think we went on for 6.5 hours. And it's basically to raise awareness, first and foremost, of poverty in America, and then also to raise funds for So Others Might Eat, which is an organization based out of Washington, D.C. And their entire goal, the reason I really fell in love with them years ago, Ginger, is because they educate people to get out of a poverty situation.
Right.
So they're not only just giving money and giving food, they're also providing how to create a resume, how to, they have a place to come and get clothes. So if you want going on a job interview, they have dentists, they have doctors, they have all these things built into some. So it's just not one channel. And that's why when a couple of years ago, when I partnered up with them and really just started doing it, and then Potapalooza just kind of came out of that desire to do more for them. And you guys have all been so, I mean, you and so I got to say this, okay, Ginger, when I get your emails or messages, it's like my big sister Talat or calling me, because I was thinking like when I was a kid, and she's like, take your shoulders up or your sleeves up to your elbows. You don't look cool with them down like that, or your hair should be up and puffy. And I was like, this is just like my big sister again, telling me how I got to get this Potapalooza thing going.
Did you just call Ginger old? It feels like you just called her old.
No.
That's okay. I know.
I'm not that far behind her, trust me. And neither is Talat. So we're all the same age bracket here. But it was just like when I was reading your email, like, how do people get to view this? How do people do? I was like, oh my God, this stuff I just don't think like. I'm like this 30,000 foot view guy, right? I got this huge vision, but I just want to make things happen. And then I just, and so I really appreciate people like you, John Perry, who's behind the scenes, that are just making everything happen for guys like me. And I can't thank you enough.
You're sweet. Somebody Bill Helsted called me the matriarch of the mortgage industry. I'm like, no, not yet. I'm not ready. Oh, yeah. So, and so here's the thing. It's like, we want to promote it. And so that's the main thing. So if you guys want to know about it, it's going to be on November 12th, which is a Saturday, start at 10 a.m. Eastern time. For those of us on the Pacific Coast, that's 7 a.m. And I know you've got Todd Duncan on there, Carl White's on there, Christine Beckwith's on there. I'm doing a session for mortgage influencers, which I'm actually super excited. We're going to be talking to some really big influencers on TikTok.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to be doing for our session. And so it's just an opportunity. If you want details, you can go to mortgageinfluencers.com. So I just set up a landing page for you, Fabi. So yeah, and the link is on there to donate too, because I know you put that down there.
Yeah, and by the way, you doubled my goal this year, by the way. I know you put on there 50,000, and
I thought you said it was 50,000. I looked on the thing; it's like 25,000. It's like, come on, raise the bar.
We're going little baby steps. I did 5,000 last year. I was going for 25,000 this year. But hell, if we get to 50,000, I'm not going to stop the donations. One of the things that, by the way, I mean, what's really cool about the way John set this up, right, is the money goes directly to some. So we've kind of like taken over their link and used it on our website. So it goes straight to them.
Nice.
And that way there's no middleman. We're not taking any portion of this for anything. All cost is being covered by us, and it's a donation from our part. And so just, to me, it's just such a worthy cause. And the more we learn about this, there was a really interesting fact, by the way, and I was doing this on another show. There's 11% poverty in America right now.
Wow.
And people don't realize that. And with that really, I mean, think about this. That means 1.5 out of 10 people sitting in a circle is living below or at the poverty line. And with this recession and the hard times that we're all dealing with, we've just got to be able to, and we're fortunate in the mortgage industry. Let's talk about, Casey Crawford said, we make a lot of money here, right? And we do. And so it's just time to be generous. That's all.
Well, the opposite of homelessness, of homeownership, is homelessness. And so, I think it's perfect as far as that correlation between the two. So, so good. So I'm excited to be a part of it. For all of us, if there's anything we can do to help promote it, if anyone, wants to hop on, I know Josh is on there. I mean, it's all about, being able to raise awareness. So
currently we're looking for sponsors. I just got to plug that in. We have a $2,500 sponsorship package. Go on the site that John created. I think it's called Some Donate, but it'll talk all about that, where you can look at the sponsorship levels. And I think there's only one sponsorship level. It's $2,500 and you get a 5-minute interview.
Nice.
But whatever you want to do. I mean, I'm open to sponsorships and getting people connected.
Yeah. We'll see 10 sponsorships at $2,500.
Exactly.
And we're halfway there.
That's that's the goal. Before November 12th, Saturday, November 12th at 10 a.m. I need 10 sponsors.
I love it. I love it.
I feel like telling all the vendors, like every time you call me, make sure you got a $25 check ready for me to listen to your spiel.
There you go. Exactly. I love it. And we'll, put some more information about the organization. I know Sue did it with my podcast when I did it last year, and that's a big organization for her. And she does a lot of support as far as homeless, especially youth.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's important. So you're welcome to stay on with us. Absolutely. I want to get over to Ken a little bit. And Ken, we know you so well in the Pacific Northwest, and anyone who, has been through a continuing education class or, whether it's live or online, I tell you what, Ken, the only place you need to go is the Knowledge Coop, hands down. So give an introduction of yourself, kind of what the Knowledge Coop is all about, and then I'm going to get into some of the things that you do to make compliance interesting.
Oh, nice. And thanks for having me on today. And man, I love what you're doing with that nonprofit. We've been spending a lot of time in CE this year talking to people about in dealing with fair lending. We talk more about how can you go out there and serve in underserved communities. And I think now more than ever, if we're stressed out about our own financial situation, there's nothing better than to serve your way out of that stress. So I think that's really awesome. We have been, I started this company back in 2003. So it's been quite a few years. And back then, it was really the same thing it is now, which is just give every loan officer a chance to learn, grow, and win. And we do that using education. So I've been educating the industry since 2003. We launched the technology, the Knowledge Coop, in 2012, and that is basically the communication and collaboration tool used by a lot of mortgage companies throughout the United States to help their people and their teams connect a little better. We've got, right now more than ever, we're seeing our Knowledge Coop clients, companies where the leaders are actually using the Coop to deliver messaging all the time and actively and trying to keep their company together. I have been saying to my team, in the mortgage industry now, if somebody gets invited to a Zoom call by their company, they wonder if this is the one that lays them off. And we think that you should communicate a lot more inside your company than when it's so bad that you have to send out that bad messaging. You should be every day messaging your company inside the Knowledge Coop using video to drive that culture forward. So people use our technology to store all their documents, deliver all their content, deliver all their training. And then we build out all the training the mortgage industry needs that they can then use, take from us, assign to their people inside the Coop. So whether it's how to recruit or how to sell loans or how to lead or how to comply and how to understand the basics of compliance. So we do all of that now, and it's been really fun. It's been quite a journey, and it's the CE piece has been. Do you guys see this fly? I went crane technique on that fly, and he ran.
Oh my God. Is he going to be the best outtakes?
Sorry. I've been watching Cobra Kai, which season 3 is hands down the best. Anyway, ADHD right there for you. You saw it here. But yeah, the CE piece is just so funny because we have been the best kept secret in the mortgage industry for a really long time. And people are starting to figure us out. And it's so funny in some of these Facebook groups that I'm in where people are like, what CE should I use? You see, I told our company today, I'm like, we have a cult following. Like the people that take our classes are so happy and thankful that we actually put energy and effort and make them amazing that like they're on there going, you're an idiot if you don't use a Knowledge Coop. Like we're seeing those types of statements be made because we're freaking amazing. There's nobody that does what we do in continuing education or pre-licensing education. And so that was like the kind of the beginning of the company. It's something that we've always done, better than everybody else. And I don't say that, I say that confidently. Like anybody that takes our CE, you will never experience anything like what we've done. And so we do a 30-minute typically movie that plays throughout the class. We did Sons of Compliance. When I watched Sons of Anarchy, we did an entire spoof on Sons of Compliance for that year. We did 2 seasons of that. We did Game of Loans, fully scripted, fully costumed out. It was freaking amazing. And then we just did a Yellowstone spoof called Lone Ranger, and that's in the CE this year. And so I get texts now, people send me like texts of them like with a glass of wine and me in the background on their TV. I got one yesterday from a good buddy of mine who said, dude, this is gold. It's the best thing I've ever seen. Like it's just fun to deliver that, because people don't pay attention to CE and they think it's about clicking, and they waste their time, and then they get logged out because it's so dumb that they don't want to, pay attention. And so for us, it's really hard to communicate what it should look like. And if somebody's only had garbage training, they think, well, that must be better smelling garbage. And it's really not. Like what we do, our passion we put into it, it's amazing. Like it's game changer. So yeah, it's hard to be this much ahead of everybody else, because it makes you have to convince people that they could get something of this quality. So it's fun.
Well, and I think what you're doing translates so much, for compliance, obviously, and there's requirements, blah, blah, blah. But people struggle with making videos and making, talking about mortgages to make it to where it is fun and it is interesting. Because I mean, at the end of the day, it's like nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, oh gosh, I really want a mortgage today,
Right.
And so, some of the things, and I want to really unpack that. And you have a whole team that does this. I mean, you go to his studio in Washington, and I mean, they've got cameras on, dollies, and they've got, so, you have a big production team for this. But if we're looking at the individual LO who wants to educate, who wants to do just what you're talking about, being able to provide that education for consumers, what's your best advice as far as getting started to make it to where it is engaging and it is interesting?
Yeah, good question. We have a production team that's insane. We've spent more on equipment than I care to remember. I try not to look. But that's because we produce a ton of content. So it's overkill for anybody else. And Rene Rodriguez said it best when he released a super produced video and it failed. And then he did the same exact thing, but just using his iPhone, and it succeeded.
Yeah.
And so we're constantly trying to figure out where's the line where you need that quality and where's the line that you don't. And it's also funny that I've got my personal Facebook page with 5,000 friends on there, and I've got a company Facebook page that we deliver things, and we have a lot of people there too. But which one is gonna, what's gonna hit with each of those pages?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff I do isn't related to mortgage at all. I'll just jump on and do a video about my ADHD, or I'll do a video. I've been doing video walkthroughs of different states and cities and countries I've been in lately.
Are you in Tate going to hamburger places?
Yeah, burger reviews.
Yeah.
The thing about what we do that works, that everybody can do, is figure out who you are. And if that's something that's appealing, it's going to work really well. If it's not something that's appealing, you're just not going to be successful doing video, and you should email people. And I think that's the big mistake. I don't think everybody can do video.
Yeah.
I think more people can do video that don't know they can. When I first started doing videos, 2010, and it was an argument I had with my business partner at the time. And he's like, you need to do video. I'm like, I'll never get in front of a camera. I hated it. I had done one video, and it was a class I recorded. That video got subpoenaed by the FBI, or the IRS, because a bunch of people in that class were committing federal mortgage law violations and a bunch of fraud. And 12 people went to prison from that class. So obviously I had
not because, so let's put a disclaimer on here, not because of the class.
No,
it happened to be in the class.
They used my video to show that these people had been taught that that's fraud.
Gotcha.
And so, but I remember watching that video back, and I was like watching my words and being really careful which words I use, and like trying to sound official and professional. And it wasn't good, and I hated it. In fact, when I turned the camera off in that class, I still remember this. This is in 2009, I think. I turned the camera off, and everybody in the audience was like, so who was that guy? And I'm like, what guy? And they're like, the guy that just talked to us for the last hour. And I'm like, oh. Yeah, dang, I wasn't myself. And so I did not want to do video because I thought that was the experience where I have to be such a pro. And my buddy talked me into doing video. I started doing it. Everybody sucks in the beginning. So I just have enough to say, and I like it, that it works. And I think that people should all try it. Don't give up on the first one and then just keep going until you kind of get your rhythm. But if your thing, like for me, you mentioned my burger reviews, I'll be in seminars and I do seminars all over. And instead of coming up and saying, I saw your video on RESPA, they come up and they're like, dude, when are you doing another burger review? Like, but burger reviews for me was me and my son and I. My son is a lot like my wife. And so very structured, very organized, very detailed, just we connecting with my son, we've had to try a little bit to get those connection points. And when we started, I was like, dude, we should review some burgers. And so we started driving to go get burgers, and those drives were money. Like, we're just talking about life, and teenagers suck. We all know that. And he was a teenager that didn't really talk. He locked himself in his room a lot. And for me, it was just about connecting with my boy. And so those connections on the way to and from the burger were the best part. Now we started like, let's light up a camera and do a burger review, and it worked. And we just started doing more and more of those. So I wasn't doing it because I wanted people to watch my videos on burgers. I was doing it because I wanted time with my son. And I think where people watching this can benefit is, why are you doing video? Like, if you've got a reason other than I want to be famous, or other than I want to get likes and I want people to share, if that's your goal, then you're not going to get likes and shares for a long time. Right. And so it's going to be a drought, right? But if your goal is, I want to spend this time with my kid, and I think people might want to see what we think about a burger, or, what we've done with Guatemala. We've done a lot of videos down in Guatemala. I just want people to love Guatemala as much as I do. And so your intent is probably the first and biggest part. And if you want to go get more loans, all your videos are going to suck, because that's not the right intent, right? If your intent is, let's take a good example. People that are in impoverished communities right now are struggling. And we talked about that earlier. And they're not going to buy a house. You could do a first-time homebuyer seminar for them all day long. Mm-hmm. They'd like to eat today. And so if you have a goal and a mission of providing awareness around those communities, you're going to do a great job, because your heart is in the right place, and that's going to come out on video. And then people will follow you because they love what you're doing. And then it leads to more home ownership, because now we bless those communities. So it all goes down. Annie Hovland, you remember Annie? Mm-hmm. I haven't seen her in a while, but her goal was,
I just saw her a few months ago. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What they started with was just getting people to understand the different businesses in their community. I think that's how they began. Yeah. It was like, let's highlight some businesses, and that's got to be a thing. And so I guess that would be my biggest tip, is just know why you're doing it and have the right reason. Frank just logged in. I tell people about Frank and Brian's start because, and correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, but the first time I started paying attention to you, and I think the biggest leap you had when you guys flew to New York with those boxes of pretzels, I don't think you sat down and said, how can we get famous? I think you were pissed, and you're like, let's go fight the man. Who's with me? And it was just like, it was this.
The Dodd-Frank,
I connected with that. I'm like, go freaking do it, because people complain, and here these guys are doing it. And I think that's what launched so much of what you do, is that people know your passion. And so understand your passion and why you're doing it. Don't just be like, I want to get more loans, I want to do a couple of videos. I don't have short answers, by the way. So.
Yeah, and sorry I took so long to log on. I got wrapped up in some stuff with Katie, and I know we're right at the end of everything, but I could not go without saying hello to Ken. I wanted to make sure I got to get on that call just to make sure I at least say hi to Ken. And I don't know, is it Fabi?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, good to meet you. Don't know you, but glad to see you. Glad to see you.
Distant fan of yours.
But.
I feel like this is Pee-wee's Playhouse, and Frank just stopped by. Yeah.
Wow.
We just came by.
I'm not sure what I dropped in the middle of there, but it all sounded really good. So
I just watched the Mr.
What Ken
Rogers
said.
movie. Have you guys seen the Mr. Rogers movie yet? The documentary.
Yes.
Yeah.
What a great example.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, the trolley's here, and like all these, the mailman, and like his whole purpose was to help kids. And like, it's such a great example. He was great because his passion was there, and he just figured out a way to do it using what he felt like was the best messaging device. So that would be your biggest tip for me today.
I love that. And that's true. I mean, and you've done that. I mean, you and I have known each other. So Ken was actually, when I first got started in the industry, I was an account executive and just needed to kind of figure out how everything was. And Ken was a coach. It's like, we hired Ken. It's like, hey, where do we start with this? And so there was Robin, Trey, and I. So that's the thing. It's like, if you don't know what you're doing, get a coach, get somebody to help you, figure it out, get started. If you don't know where to start, it's like those little pieces. I mean, Bobby, you talked about on your big sister telling you, how are we going to promote this? Where's our landing page? Find someone that does that. I mean, that's me. I'm the yin to Ken's yang. It's big, putting all those pieces together, So if you're not sure about it, find somebody that's better at it. Maybe somebody in your office, if you can't find a coach, something like that. But find that resource. I think the most important message right now is to get out there. I think that's probably the biggest thing that I see, to make sure that whether it is on email, whether it is, writing, maybe you're a writer. I know, Scott, that's where you started out, was a lot of, writing and blogs, whether it's doing video, whatever that is. The most important thing right now is to be present, and if being present means being a part of your community, like what you're doing, Fabi, with the Potapalooza, then do that, get started with that. I think that's so important.
Well, can I add?
Yeah, you can add whatever you want.
When they get into video, people do the hardest video first, which is the talking head. A talking head, hands down. I still don't like doing talking head videos.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't not like them. They're not my favorite. They're not the easiest.
No.
The easiest is what we're doing right now, right? By the way, hey Ren, come here. This is Ren Reed. He runs our entire content and production team. He's the VP over here at the Knowledge Group. So we're live.
Hey, folks.
He figured most of the stuff out. So all of the genius you're seeing in all of our production, he runs all of that. So I just show up and find out what I'm supposed to do. So
Nice to meet you all.
thanks, Ren.
Take care.
I'm going to hear about that.
We need to have, so Ken, we need to have him on. What we should do is I can come over and we can film.
Yeah.
I know you and I need to do lunch again because I have some
He
ideas.
said anytime when he was leaving. So,
Okay,
but what I was saying is like this is easy. This gets you reps on video. The interview is super easy. Having a partner is easier, but talking head is horrible. So when people say I tried video and I wasn't good at it, it's like, well, you did the hardest form of video you could do, which is you talking to a camera, trying not to look dumb. And that's so hard.
Really hard for me to say.
Trying not to look dumb.
Yeah. Super hard.
This is just, see that my office is at the front. Hey, BP. This is Brian Payne. He's our CTO at the Knowledge Group. I'm just introducing people around now.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
He's wearing a Misfits t-shirt today. So it's always.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question?
It's in the spirit of Halloween. This is my Halloween.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
He's a misfit.
Nice meeting you all.
Let me ask you a question. When I make videos that are not podcast related or whatever, right? I don't do a script anymore. I just kind of have some highlights of what I want to talk about. Early on, I used to do these scripts and I used to try to say them verbatim. It would be like 82 takes and it sounded awful. And you guys are all shaking your head in agreement. So
It depends on you though. Ryan Hills, you have Ryan Hills on next week. Ryan Hills is fully scripted.
Yeah.
And he does it like he's not. Like for him, he's a good writer and they write everything out and go, does this make sense? And then they do it written, but he can do that. If you give me words, I hate that. I need an outline and then I need to go off and be distracted and all that stuff. The ADHD does not do well.
Me and Brian are always fully scripted. Always fully scripted. Me and Brian.
Yeah.
Brian today is still fully scripted.
So you think, Frank, like being fully scripted is better for your personality? Is it a personality thing, or is
No, well, for us, being fully scripted was more of just, we had a lot to say. We need to say it as condensed as possible. And if you're not scripted, then, you know, what should have been a 5-minute video can be a 25-minute video, right? It's just, that's how it goes. And the weird thing about that is Brian always wrote everything, and he still does, right? He writes it. And, you know, sometimes it's all kind of wonky and stuff, you know, we're literally got somebody there on a Word document with a computer scrolling up as we can read it. But it was so interesting that over a pretty short period of time, how I learned to read Brian, you know what I mean? Like, so when my parts came up, I saw what was there and might not have read it exactly the way it was written, because I know what he's saying, you know, so I could read Brian really well and just flow through it. You get better at it. I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you do want a script for the sake of making sure you're concise and you don't ramble, you can get better at it. You can get better at being smooth with a script, and better at being, you know, like you're not reading a script. You can get better at it without having to take 84 takes. Yeah.
Watch the lowdown. It's the LO down. We release it on our Facebook page and in the coop every week or every other week. Sawyer is fully scripted on the lowdown. It's actually written by a trainer who does all the research. And so the more research you need in there and facts and stuff like that, the better it is to script. So Sawyer stands up, rocks a script. You can barely tell, if you can tell at all, that there is a script. It does work, and just different people do better doing different things. But Frank, dude, I've done 30-minute videos that were supposed to be 4, and then the content team's like, dude, could you just write it down? I'm like, I will write down the outline and try to be more succinct, but it's hard because you think you just did 4 minutes, and they're like, so that was 30.
Yeah. That's the thing with it. Yeah, if you're gonna be concise, it's, you know, think about doing a script, and you will get better at it. You know, you'll get better at reading your own scripts. And
and I would also add that there's different ways to do different types of content. You know, you're not always going to do one thing. There's a time when you need to think it out and you need to be succinct. But I think for the most part, people are inclined to want to script, and then that comes off really chunky and insincere and disingenuous when they're trying to, if they're doing it on one take and not editing it, you know, together. But yeah, I think it's easier if you don't use a script. What I ended up doing, well, that was Carl's redneck
Teleprompter. Yep.
Redneck teleprompter is just bullets. It's just put bullets, and then that kind of kept my brain going back to what I was supposed to be talking about, but it still give you a little bit of flexibility to be spontaneous.
Yeah.
So it really is
for you. There you go.
Yeah, it's whatever works. It's whatever works for you.
Teleprompter.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Great teleprompter, Ken. Hey guys, I gotta go. I'll see you. I got an 11. Adios.
Yeah,
See you, buddy.
we're over.
Hey you guys.
Bye, Frank.
I have to show you this real fast. This is digital dark patterns, credit scores, and CEO liability. I did a full video with those 3 bullets. And so I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. So yeah, I do that all the time on there.
See, I do a video on Monday where I'm walking my dog through the trails around our house. And all I have is one thought that I wrote down, and I talk about it for like 62 seconds and I'm done.
Yeah.
And people love that because they're like, your dog is great. Forget Fabi, but the dog is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to close it out. Rebecca is reminding me to remind you, Ken, too. And I'm just going to give your little shout out here. So if you guys, first of all, we're in the end of October. If you haven't done your CE, you need to do your CE. And so the place you need to go is the Knowledge Coop. And it looks like Rebecca says, try the coop. So it's try the coop. .com. So I'm going to make sure and post this. And guys,
you go to app.knowledgekeep.com too. If you go to app.knowledgekeep.com, you can actually get join our that's our technology, join the membership. It's free, and then you can become a premium member, and that would get you everything we ever release, including all the CE and PE that we do. So we just made a one fee for each year. So jump on that.
Nice.
Cool.
Perfect. Ken, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Love it. Bobby, we're going to see you again next week, right? I have you every Wednesday until we get ready to go live.
As long as I survive Nashville this weekend, I'll be good.
Oh,
see you there.
Yeah, you guys hook up and connect in Nashville.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'll
definitely.
get you on Facebook. All right.
Okay, and Scott, I'll see you next week. Thank you so much. So next week, guys, we have another strong influencer in the Pacific Northwest, Ryan Hills, who has been doing video, honestly, before anybody was doing video. I mean, Ryan has been doing it, has a full production team, everything. Longer than you have, I know. Longer than
Not
Ryan.
me. We started at the same time.
Oh, did you start at the same
Yeah,
time?
we met right then. And so I mean, he's such a brilliant guy. And so
Yeah.
we've been bouncing ideas off each other forever. Our kids go to the same school. We
Oh, that's right.
love that guy.
The-
Yeah. Yeah. And you needed that. And that's one last thing is have other friends that do it, because these connections, we can bounce stuff off each other all day long and get better. And that's what
Yep.
Ryan's been
Yeah.
for me. That's what Hits is for me. Yeah.
I mean, that's why this whole thing started. Yes. You know, I just, you know, Scott, hey, you know, we need to start talking about people, what they need to do. You want to do a call every week. And, you know, Scott is my steady Eddie. He has been here every week, except for maybe a couple. And so I thank you for that, because that's part of it, is that consistency, right? When you find
showing
that
up.
team to be able to help you and to have the conversations. And so I appreciate you sharing, truly. It means so much to be able to share. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. So you guys have a great week.
See everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.